You lot, and I'm back. I'm sorry I've been lazy over the summer with this channel. Still getting over Euros feet. Now we all saw it coming. The Southgate was sat. Let's go. Right now, I'm going to be doing the Premier League predictions, 20-1. I'm also going to chuck in my Golden Boot winner, first manager sacked, Golden Glove, Player of the Year, all of those, lovely manager of the year, all those little things as well. And I'll give you a little hint on some of the cups as well, maybe, and we'll see. Now, I really hate doing these because I hate that the season starts and there's still 3 weeks left in the window, so that means we don't know if key players are going to leave some of the lower clubs, which would be detrimental impacts. We don't know what big signings might be planned for deadline day. And, for example, last season, I watched this back and I was insulting the transfer business of West Ham. They later was signing people like Kudos, you know what I mean? So, I'm just doing this based off today, which is 2 days out from the season starting. I just want to keep that clear, okay? So this is based off the knowledge that is known now. So keep that in mind when you laugh at me when I get them all wrong, alright? So let's go. Now in last place, and I'm sorry, I've got to put something in, I have gone for Nottingham Forest. Now I know a lot of people are going to be annoyed at this placement and call me ignorant to the fantastic deals that Forest are doing. I don't rate Nuno too much of a coach. I think what his work at Wolves, yeah, it was impressive, but since then he's tanked and he flopped in the end at Wolves, you know what I mean? So I don't rate him as a coach, and I feel that he will not make it past November. Personally, I don't believe that project long term, and I think they've just got too many cooks in the kitchen. They've got good players, and Steve Cooper was able to manage it, but they were very lucky last season, and they were up against way worse relegated teams. I think the teams coming up this season are going to be stronger than that, and I just don't see how they can cope. Of course, keeping a player like Gibbs White, who I assume they'll keep, or Callum Hudson-Odoi are going to be very important, but so far their summer activity hasn't blown me away. Elliot Anderson for a really overpriced fee, which was to do with FFP, and they got rid of that really useless keeper. The keeper situation is a very problem because Matt Turner, I believe, is still the number one, or any other alternative Forest tend to have are not very good. So I would worry about the defence of Forest, and I don't see it happening. I think the promoted teams are going to have a bit more about them. And talking of having a bit more about them, 19th I've gone for Ipswich Town. I'm sorry you're going down, Ipswich. Now, last season I backed Luton to stay up because I really wanted them to stay up. And similarly, it would be fantastic to see Ipswich and Kieran McKenna be able to have this amazing story, back-to-back promotions, and then survival in the Premier League. But alas, it's not going to happen. And do you know why it's going to happen? They've just bought Calvin fucking Phillips. They're going down. I'm sorry. The sign-ins of Ipswich they've got budget limitations, but I think they haven't been smart enough. And people say, well, Luton were competitive, and they almost stayed up. Yes, but Luton actually were a more established Championship side. This has got League One players in this squad, and I think they're going to be eaten alive in the Premier League. And I think Kieran McKenna is going to be exposed as not the coach that everyone seems to believe he is. I mean, this guy was getting linked to the Chelsea and Man United job, for God's sake, this summer, so ridiculous. And I'm glad I kind of stepped with it because I think, like Company last season, it's not going to go well. 18th I've gone for Leicester City. Now there's something about Leicester that's really likeable. I don't know whether it's probably that miracle. It's the miracle win, isn't it? And I do want to see them do well, but the big issue that Leicester face this season is the potential points deduction, which could be up to 12 points. And I think without a points deduction, I believe Leicester have enough to survive. I think they were way too good to go down when they did go down, and although it was more of a struggle to go up than you would have thought, they were absolutely by far the best in the Championship. But unfortunately, they've lost Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, who was really the star player in the Championship for Leicester, and he's gone to Chelsea. I'll talk about Chelsea later. I don't get that deal, but it's a shame. But I don't think it's the end of the world, and they've made some decent little deals. Jamie Vardy's still about. Barely, but I don't see them having enough to survive a potential 12-point deduction, which is why I put them in 18th. 17th I've gone for Wolves. Look, Gary O'Neill is a very nice guy, and I think he's so underrated as a coach. He's someone who could potentially be a future England manager, I believe. But this Wolves team, they're getting eaten alive with Wolves each season because they've just lost Pedro Neto, who I know spent most of the season on, the injury bench. But when he was in the team for Wolves, they were at their peak. The former Wolves in the second half of the season, the momentum has really dropped, and I think with losing another key player like Max Kilman and not properly replacing him is going to be an issue. A lot of key players have left Wolves in the past 2 years, and I still think they've got some talent in there. They've still got some stars in there, but it's not going to happen, I don't think, for Wolves this season, and they could almost go down, and I think it'll be close between them and Leicester. 16th, I have gone for Southampton, and I know you'll probably laugh at this. Most people have Southampton as assured on 20th. I've seen a lot of people predict Southampton at 20th, and Russell Martin's style of football is very extreme, and it may get exposed. However, I think they have a certain energy about them. I think there's a youthfulness, and I like the transfer work that they've done. Brereton Diaz, for example, bringing in that kind of decent striker who's clearly going to be the favourite to Adam Armstrong. Well, I would hope so. Of course, and I like Flynn Downs is a decent, and Adam Lallana, I know he's maybe not there, but having that experience in the dressing room is really important for a really young squad. I think they've been clever with recruitment, and I think they've done the best recruitment out of the three promoted teams. I think they're best equipped, and I think they're going to surprise some people. I think they're going to be better than you expect, and I think they're going to survive in 16th. 15th, I have gone for Fulham Football Club, and Fulham, look, losing Mitrovic was awful for them, but they were able to do it. They got Munoz, so it was okay. But Palhinha and Cordova-Reid, who were two major players for them last season, along with Tim Ream as well, who's a very experienced head at the back, they are big losses for Fulham. And, of course they're going to replace Palhinha, and of course they're going to bring in some decent players, but I rate Marcus Silva as a coach quite highly, but I don't see them being in a relegation battle perhaps, but I don't see them being able to really compete with some of the bigger, better squads in this league because of the losses they've had and the budgetary concerns. But, they've brought in Smith Rowe, and I think it's a gamble. I don't know if it will pay off, but he definitely showed flashes in the past, Smith Rowe, so it could work out for them, but then it could also be a disaster. They paid a decent fee for him, so I'm not sure. 14th, I have gone for Everton. Now, Everton, you cannot get relegated this season. It's your last season at Goodison Park. You cannot let that happen. Now, the Onana hole in the midfield is evident, and that's kind of a problem. However, they still have a lot of those key players, still got Decore, and Calvert-Lewin, people will hate on him, but he is a striker who can get you a decent amount of goals and will guarantee, 8 goals a season, which is all you really need. I think Everton will be absolutely fine. I think there could be another points deduction, even for Everton, and I think even with that, they'll be comfortably mid-table, I think. 13th, I have gone for Brighton. Now, Hooslier, the new manager, Julian Hooslier, is he's a big gamble because he's 31 years old. He's 31. And he really didn't have much experience prior to this job. It could be disaster. I think he's going to make Brighton look exciting. I think they have a lot of those key players. And Cissé, remember him? Well, he's going to be back this season, like a new signing. They've still got João Pedro, and they've held on to Matoma, and they haven't really lost anyone key this summer. And I think Brighton will go backwards slightly because, he's not De Zerbi, but I don't think it will be this massive drop-off. I've seen people say Brighton are getting relegated. You're ridiculous if you think that. 12th, I'm going for Bournemouth. Now, you may sound ridiculous because they've just lost Dominic Solanke. However, Solanke was only good last season. They've got 65 million, and there's no way they're not going to replace him with a good backup or get somebody else in to take on that mantle. Of course, Sinisterra is going to be fit for them this season, along with Alex Scott, who's someone you can definitely look out for. So there's a lot of really good players for Bournemouth, so I wouldn't worry about them too much, in all honesty. I think Iraola is really cooking something, and I think they'll eventually get Europe with him. 11th, I have gone for Brentford. Now, I've seen some people Rory Jennings said that Brentford be relegated. The same guy that said Erling Haaland would flop, so take it with a grain of salt. You're ridiculous if you think that, because Brentford did not. The media, the pundit, obvious thing to say is, without Ivan Toney, Brentford struggled last year. But no, it was actually the loss of Rico Henry and Aaron Hickey who were vital. And with them coming back for Brentford, they'll be solid. And they've got Igor Thiago, who is the new striker for Brentford, but he is unfortunately injured at the moment. But I think Toney will probably stay because, well, the fee is ridiculous and you can get him for free next year. It's bad planning for Brentford. I'll worry about them next season. But with Toney and with Mbeumo probably staying as well, and with those fullbacks coming back, and I think they'll be absolutely fine. And I think they'll be near and about to where they were the season before. Okay, 10th I've gone for Crystal Palace. Now, of course, Palace have lost Elise and replaced him with Ismaila Sarr. No, I'm joking. They haven't. I like Palace a lot. I like this project that they're cooking up. Kamada was a great signing. I really liked bringing in Kamada for Palace. I thought it was really clever. I think that midfield, honestly, Kamada and Decore in a 2, is just fantastic. With Adam Wharton as well in there. It's a really good project. Eze will probably be staying as well, and they might bring up Wilfred Buddy Zaha. I've heard rumours about, so if that does happen, that's crazy. And I think Palace will be really good, but I don't think people getting carried away. I don't think they'll be able to compete with the 9 teams I've got above them. Okay, 9th I've gone for Chelsea. This is not a joke. I don't get Chelsea. I do not get it. Pochettino, yes, he got 6th, but he got 6th with a team that was all over the place. A team that finished 12th. This side literally were clicking. They won 5 games on the bounce at the end of the season, and then they sack the coach, a guy who's been in a Champions League final and has won a title in France, and they replace him with the guy that struggled to get Leicester up to the Premier League. Endo Maresca is going to be gone by February, and it's going to be an absolute disaster. I think they're going to be like 14th, and then someone established will come in. I don't know who, maybe David Moyes. Something ridiculous or outlandish like that will come in and steer them to a 9th place finish. I don't get these signings. I don't get why you need Pedro Neto. I don't get what Dewsbury Hall's going to do when you've got Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo there. I don't get why you get rid of Conor Gallagher when he was one of your most established important players, when you've literally got a guy who was racist towards French. He's still in the midfield, which is ridiculous. Raheem Sterling, I've given up on that guy. Mykhailo Mudryk, I've given up on that guy. I've heard there could be a swap deal with Lukaku and Osimhen, and that is the biggest coup in football history. And if they get Osimhen, maybe they'll be decent. But then even I don't really know how good Osimhen really is. And Nkunku, if he can stay fit, will be important for Chelsea, but he's not going to stay fit. And I don't know what the best centre-back pairing, because they've chucked in Tosin in there as well. You know what I mean? And they got rid of Chalobah, but kept Disasi, even though Chalobah was... I'm so lost with this team. I think it's going to be disaster class. I wouldn't be shocked if they finish bottom half again this season, because it's a clown show. Todd Bowley is running a clown show. It's an absolute circus at Chelsea. 8th I've gone for West Ham. Now, you may think last season West Ham performed really badly, but they actually got 9th, so I'm only predicting them to be slightly up. But to get players like Falkirk and Todibo in, it's just crazy, because these are players who have been sought after. Todibo was heavily linked with United, and Falkirk, I've seen him linked with all sorts of clubs in Europe. These are 2 very solid European players, and they are good enough. And when you've got a team with the likes of Kudos and Bowen and Paqueta potentially if he stays, which I think he will now, and Zoom at the back, for example, Areola and Go, it's a really good team. And I think they will be absolutely fine. And they could push the top 7, which I think, for me, doesn't even include Chelsea. 7th, I'm going to put Tottenham in 7th. Now, I really want Ange to do well. I don't want Tottenham to succeed. I don't really care either way about Tottenham, because they've never been really good. The last time they won a trophy, I wasn't even born. So... But I really like Ange as a person, and I think he's got a solid side. I think Dominic Solanke is a very solid sign. I think he's a better striker than Richarlison, but it is a lot of money, and he's not Harry Kane. Son is not getting any younger at the same time, and I still don't think that the midfield is as good as it could be. I don't know, Bentancur can stay fit for the whole season, and you know, Sarr and Basuma are not quite the players that I really believe is the best that they can go for. Van de Ven as well, if they can keep him fit, is important. Same with Maddison, but I don't know about this Spurs team. I don't know if they have the quality of the top six. Okay, sixth, I'm going for Villa. Now, Villa, I don't think you're going to get Champions League again. I think that your signings have been a mixed bag. I think Onana, well, he's not Douglas Luiz, is a pretty decent deal, and I like Ian Maatsen as a signing. He was really solid on loan at Dortmund. However, Ross Barkley left a lot to be inspired, unfortunately, and, you know, I don't think they've quite replaced the big two losses in Moussa Diaby to the Saudi Pro League and, of course, Douglas Luiz to Juventus, which they were two very hard, big losses, important players. I mean, you know, maybe not Diaby, but Luiz was a big part of it. But then Unai Emery will still get the Europa League, because, you know what I mean, people are saying, oh, they're playing the Champions League, it will affect them, and it will. You know, it's 8 games, essentially 10 if they get to that qualifying round with the 16, which is most likely if Villa are to qualify for the last 16, that's what they'll be. So I think it will be strain on the player, but they cope with Europe last season, and it's a big squad. There is depth in the Villa squad. I'd argue there's more depth in the Villa squad than the Tottenham squad, and that's why I think that they will get 6th. Okay, 5th I've gone for Manchester United. Now, I have no idea with Man United this season. I think that this is a big season for them, because I think if Ten Hag fails, he will be sacked. And there's a world where he's sacked in October or November, you know what I mean? But there's also a world where he goes on and gets like 2nd or something ridiculous. So, I've no idea. I mean, he's won 2 trophies in 2 years, but it's already about looking bad when Lenny Yoro, their big summer move, got injured in the first game of pre-season, and their star striker Rasmus Højlund also got injured in that match, and Luke Shaw, surprise, surprise, is injured again. I think Man United will be built off defence this season. I think De Ligt, I have issue with the De Ligt signing. I feel like it screams another big money Man United flop, which we've seen so consistently, but he's still a better centre-back than what they've got, so it's an upgrade on Maguire, Evans and Lindelof, so I guess they'll take that. And if they pair him with Martinez or they pair him with Yoro, I think that's a very solid back line. You know, Delo is also a very solid player. And if Luke Shaw can actually stay fit, he'll be good. And they brought in a new, I forget his name, but they brought in another full-back as well who could be good. And maybe Malacia will make an appearance. If you're asking who, I'm probably saying the same thing. I think Onana will have a better season this season. But my worry with Man United is in attack. The goals, Marcus Rashford is washed in my opinion. No, he's not washed. He might come back alive. He kind of flip-flops when he's going to be in form. When he's got confidence, he's great, Rashford. When he's not got confidence, he's out. Jadon Sancho will not be here on the 1st of September. I can tell you that for free. Anthony, I don't know what to say, but they do have Garnacho, they do have Kobe Mainoo, they do have Bruno Fernandes. These are big players, so I think they will just be outside of the top 4. You know, and they've got the Europa League to contend with. The Thursday, Sunday thing is always difficult as well, whereas the team I put in 4th will not have to deal with that. I've gone Newcastle 4th. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Newcastle. I think people have forgotten about them, because last season it really went well. But did you look at the injury list? You know what I mean? They haven't made the big signings. I liked Lloyd Kelly as a small little deal, but we've not really seen a big signing come yet. But they've got Tonali coming back at some point in November, I believe, which is like a new signing basically, because he only played about a week, so that's very exciting for them. And the big thing is that so far they've kept on to Bruno Guimaraes and Alexander Isak, and it was my belief that they would sell one of them this summer, and that was kind of the commonly quoted idea. So I think it's a very solid team, and you know, this team got top 4 2 seasons ago. They got loads of injuries and they struggled. Now with a couple of reinforcements, like more experience, why can't they get top 4 again? Especially when teams around them are in competitions and they've got nothing to play for but the league and of course the cups. So I think they will get top 4. 3rd, I have gone for Liverpool Football Club, and I think that Liverpool are an unknown entity this season, and we could finish 8th. I'm not going to rule that out because, you know, Arne Slot, you know, he's unproven, but he did do great stuff at Feyenoord. He got into a Conference League final. Of course, he won the league with Feyenoord as well, and he marginally lost out to a ridiculous Galatasaray last season. So, he's a very solid coach, and in pre-season, I feel like the one thing that stood out for me with Liverpool is the defence improvement, and this could be a big season for Kwanzaa, for example. He's going to be a big player for Liverpool, but the big issue with Liverpool is the lack of signings and FSG. They have not backed Slot yet. We are starting the season in 2 days. No one's been bought. He's not bought a single player. Zubimendi, that ridiculous transfer saga, ended, of course, with Zubimendi decided to stay with his club with loyalty, which I have nothing against Zubimendi for doing that, but the issue is apparently they're not looking for a number 6, which is ridiculous. I think a proper number 6, a centre-back and maybe another winger, I think Liverpool could seriously have a serious bid for the title. However, I don't think that it will quite be possible. But I think they will get the top 4. I think a lot of people are saying, they'll completely plummet without Klopp. But because it happened with Moyes and it happened with Emery. But the difference with those two is that this team that Klopp has left is way better than the team that Fergie left in 2013. Or the team that Emery left and got given in 2019. So that's why I think they will be third. Second, I'm going for Arsenal. I don't think he's going to be close this season. I'm going to be saying why. I don't think you can do it 3 times. I think Man City are freaks of nature, but you look at Liverpool, you know what I mean? They got 97 points, they got 99. Then they were in the 70s the next season. I think this won't be close this season. I think Arsenal, to go and fight to them, to put everything into it twice and still come out with no trophies is heartbreaking. They brought in California, who is a good kind of fullback, centre-back option, but is he much better than Jurrien Timber, who's also like a new signing coming back? I don't know. There's also, of course, the Moreno deal, which is a heavy played out. Will they, won't they? And we'll see if that does materialise. But he could be a solid entry into midfield and would be a very good partner for Declan Rice if true. But I don't know if it's actually going to happen. The big issue with Arsenal, which I know everyone point out, is the striker. Gabriel Jesus is not a league winning striker, although he did win the league at Man City, but they barely played him. They played with a false 9. So, I still think Arsenal have the talent and the ability to do it, but it's just, I don't think they're going to cross the finish line in the end. And number 1, I'm going for Man City. Now, the past 2 years, I've not predicted Man City to win the league, because I was like, surely they can't keep doing it. And then they did go on, so I hope maybe this time I predict City. They don't. This is Pep's potential last season with the looming charges of the 115 coming this summer. So it will be a big year for Pep Guardiola's Man City because it's potentially the last season. I think they will win it. I think Erling Haaland will deliver once again. They've not made any big signings, which leads me to believe that they've got a lot of money because they've just sold Alvarez for a ridiculous £85 million fee. And I think they'll replace him and probably buy a massive midfielder or something ridiculous is coming, because there's no way you make that much money you don't buy an absolute splash of cash. So I think it's really exciting. But then City did show decline last season, and they didn't look as good. I don't know if they will be as good. I don't know if... I think you'll win the league in the 80s this season. I think it'd be very competitive. I think it's one of the most competitive teams. Even teams down the bottom, the likes of Forest and Leicester that I predicted to go down, still have really quality players, which is a shame. So, you know what I mean? So let me do the other things. So, Golden Boot, no shock here, Erling Haaland. I think will win the Golden Boot with quite ease, unchallenged again. Golden Glove, I'm going to actually go for Andre Onana. I know you're going to laugh at me, but I think Man United are going to be very solid defensively this season. Potentially that on Nick Pope. I think they will be my top 2. Player of the Year might be a new signing. I actually think they'll give Rodri Player of the Year. I think he's got a lot of PR at the minute, and I think he'll be deserved. First boot, I think Nuno Santo is an obvious shout. I think you could chuck Russell Martin in there, because I don't know if Russell Martin will last season. I doubt McKenna gets sacked. I doubt Cooper gets sacked. You don't know, screw it. I'm just going to say Enzo Maresca. I think he'll be gone after like a month. Who knows with Chelsea, honestly. So, yeah, that is my Premier League predictions of who I think's going to... Oh yeah, manager, yeah, I've got to do that. probably going to be Pep Guardiola. You usually get it for winning the league, don't you? Anyway, that is my Premier League prediction. The only thing I can guarantee with all these is that I can guarantee I'm going to be wrong in most of these. So yeah, put yours in the prediction. Tell me what you disagree with. And I didn't want to go boring with this. You know what I mean? I know I predicted Man City to win the league. That was obvious, but I threw a few curveballs in there because I don't want to say 3 up, 3 down, because I don't think it's going to happen 2 seasons running. And you know, I think it's possible. So yeah, I'll see you lot soon.